Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of CultureCast. CultureCast, if you haven't joined us before, is eXp Realty's official diversity, equity, and inclusion podcast. And I'm your host, Cody Gilkeson, the Senior Manager of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. You can check our banner down there below to find out more about us. I'm here today on our glorious episode 19. These keep racking up, and it seems like the time is flying because I'm having fun. But I'm here with Holly Kitchens, who is a brand new member of the leadership squad of the Pride Network at eXp. Holly, welcome.
Oh my gosh. Hey, everyone. I'm so excited to be on. And Cody, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's great. So today's episode, we're going to talk about effective allyship, right? And Holly, you've really made a career and a name from yourself out of being a great ally for others. And I love that. It's a beautiful thing. And that's what we're going to dig into today. Do you want to give everybody just a little snippet of your background?
Yeah, absolutely. So I born and raised in a small town of Rush Springs, America, which is located in Oklahoma, population 1,300. So not only did I grow up in a small town, but I also grew up in the low income housing. So like not only we were like the small town people, we're the poor people of a small town. So can you imagine how that is?
Yeah.
But yeah, growing up, I was always shy because again, we didn't have money, we didn't have the nice clothes. I was bullied for it, all these other things. I always thought attention equals negativity because anytime there's attention on there, it tended to be bullying, right? So flew under the radar. I was the typical, hanging out in the hallway with the pop punk kids, the emo kids, the goth kids. So hanging out with them really kind of like I felt kind of welcomed into that crowd of the unknown, right? The unknowns. But fast forwarded to as an adult, I got my real estate license and I had an interview with a guy named Jay Kinder, who is in Lawton, Oklahoma at the time. And he was like, yeah, I like a deeper, I took my disc personality test. I did everything. He's like, yeah, like we'd love to have you on the team. So I was like, oh my gosh. What I loved about being on Jay's team though was like Jay's face was on the billboard, Jay's face was on the signs, Jay's face was on the moving van, the website, everything. So again, I still got to play it safe while, of course, having a career. So fast forward to 2017, I wanted to dabble in e-commerce as well. So I started an online boutique. And on that online boutique, I do what anybody in business does. I hired a coach to help me, kind of collapse time and see around corners. And I was talking to him and he was like, so what are you doing different than Amazon? What are you doing different than Target? Because the boutique I had was like geared towards concert goers. I'm an avid concert goer fan. So it's essentially outfits for concert goers. So I was like, that's a great question. You can go to these outlets and get a Guns N' Roses shirt for $12. Why would they go to my unknown boutique online and pay $36? So again, going back to the importance of community, I was like, okay, well, one thing that Amazon and Target don't have is me. They don't have Holly. So I took that as an opportunity to kind of put my big girl pants on, if you will, and, show up as a business owner and let people know who they were doing business with. Because, if I really kind of put myself out there and created that community within my boutique or my online boutique, from there, of course, people will be feel more involved and be more to what's the word I'm looking for? They would be more inclined to buy from me. Right. So from that, I developed my podcast. And on my podcast, I would interview rock stars at shows, and I take questions from, from customers, and like, hey, I'm about to interview so and so. What questions you guys have? So really made them feel part of that community. And it's so crazy to think that, like, this shy girl from Rush Springs, Oklahoma, that like had a speech impediment. I still have a speech impediment, but anyways, that has a speech impediment. But R's and W's, that is something I always struggle with. But anyways, yeah, I just took the leap and I put myself out there, and I was so nervous, and it really kind of felt great though, right? Once you like be yourself, be authentically yourself, and just having a fun. It was just such a great positive feedback from everybody, whether they liked the music or the musicians I was interviewing or not. I started having my friends, and of course, being in the real estate world, this majority, I would say like 75% of my Facebook friends are real estate agents just across the nation. So yeah, exactly. So from that, they're like, how are you doing this? Like, what's going, like, who's doing your stuff? And I'm like, I'm doing it myself. I'm a very resourceful person. So that kind of transitioned for me to like small town girl to my real estate career. Obviously I'm still here with eXp, so I still have my real estate license and things like that. But it also kind of catapulted me into the branding world and helping people kind of do the same thing, like stop hiding behind a logo and show who you are and show up as yourself and really attract your tribe. I know that's always overplayed when it says attract your tribe, but for real, like, attracting the
It's
people that
real.
want to do business with you, and just putting yourself out there and letting go of fear. So that's kind of a quick brief story of who I am and how I got kind of on the path in real estate as well as in the whole branding sector.
I love that. I love that. Every time we're in video, I connect to you in such a big way because
Uh,
of just the stuff behind you is like you're walking through the path of the phases of my life behind you, right? You got My Chemical Romance and Blink-182, Sum 41 and Prince and Britney. Like this is, oh God, like I have all these records right here behind me.
I was thinking, because I had my greenery behind here before, because I'm sure people who have seen me on eXp stuff previously, you can see like the greenery, which is great. But I was like, man, I just need to switch up for 2024. And
Yeah.
I was like looking at albums, like, oh, I love like so much music. That's who I am. Again, going back to branding, I'm like, went on Amazon, bought these little like album clips, smacked those bad boys on the wall. But it's cool because now I can change them out, so I can change my background without a lot of work.
Yeah, it's great. And it helps people relate to you. I've had people before that are
I've got
like,
like
I love all your
Britney
video
Spears.
game malarkey behind me. Yeah.
Yeah, I got
I've
like
got
Britney Spears, Metallica. It's all kinds of crazy behind me, but yeah.
I love it. I love it. So let's talk about allyship. So what does allyship mean to you? How do you define that?
So to me, allyship is more than just accepting or tolerating whatever somebody wants to say. To me, allyship is, it's actively supporting, it's actively advocating in those marginalized communities. So recognizing those challenges and seeing that oppression, that it exists, and acknowledging it, not just, tolerating it or just sitting back, but like really doing something about it. It can be using, and I'm saying privilege in the way of like, if you're not part of that group and you're an ally, like you can use your privilege in the sense of, you have an opportunity to really amplify those who need that awareness.
Yeah.
It's a lifelong to me, it's a life, I mean, not to me, it definitely is, this is my facts, but it's a lifelong commitment of learning, listening, taking actions to really create, an equal society as it should be, which is so crazy. I'm like, why does this even exist? Like,
Yeah.
it's 2024. We're still talking about, people needing rights and stuff, but sadly it does.
It does, yeah. And I have a quote that I sort of live by that's by a woman named Amber Hikes. If you're not familiar with Amber Hikes, she was the LGBTQ liaison to the mayor for the city of Philly and was the sort of thought leader that brought the idea of the Philly pride flag, of adding the black and brown stripes to the pride flag. And I heard her speak, and it's something that shifted my life and put me on the path to DEI. And the quote is, "It's not the responsibility of people of color to fight racism, nor is it the responsibility of women to fight sexism and misogyny. The onus isn't on trans people to fight transphobia. It's certainly not on people with disabilities to combat ableism. It's our responsibility and my responsibility and our collective responsibility to recognize our privilege and weaponize it for the good of others."
100%. I love that quote.
Right. It's a long quote, but that says it all, right? It's about recognizing, when I am being a representative of the LGBTQ community, I have to recognize that I am a white gay man, which in terms of privilege puts me at the top of the pyramid a bunch of as far as privilege goes,
Yeah.
right? There are those who have it much worse. And those are the people that I try to advocate for, right? It's more important to me that the black and brown people of color, the black and brown trans people of color, right,
Mm-hmm.
really have a voice through me, right? That's important for me.
I love that.
So, can you share a little bit about what in your life experience has led you to be such a staunch ally, in particular of the LGBTQ community? We're talking about you becoming a leader of the Pride Network as an ally.
Yeah.
What was it in your life that brought you to this?
Well, like from my story I shared at the beginning of the episode, a little bit about me, like obviously we didn't have much growing up, but one thing I'm very grateful for is my mom raised me with, I don't know, I guess I don't want to say raised me with empathy, but like she really instilled of like, having just, a heart for people. And growing up, in school, I had close friends who had identified with the LGBTQ plus community, and witnessing those struggles and that discrimination from them. And, of course, the judgment. Of course, it's high school, it's middle school. That's brutal. Like, how that was like. It was brutal for me. And I was, myself, like, let alone somebody who is like a target on their back or, different. And then kids who aren't emotionally mature enough to really decide of how they can react or respond. But seeing that judgment and having my friends literally cry to me and just tell me like, I wish I liked, the opposite sex, or I wish I was this, or I wish I was that. Like literally, it gives me goosebumps and almost like, and I'm not an emotional person, it's always make me tear up, but I'm like, it broke my heart seeing that. And I just realized that was the moment, like, it's so important to stand alongside those people facing that, fighting for their rights, standing up for them, reporting whenever something's going awful, applauding when something goes great, and just really creating a safe space for people, whether they were my friends or just a peer of mine in the school, just allowing them have that safe space for everyone.
Yeah,
And then,
that's
of
really
course,
important. And you're right, it's especially important
Mhm.
when you're in school. I mean, because not only do you have to face it at school, but 90% of us queer folks have to face it at home. You
Yeah,
know, we get bullied at school, we come home, we can't be ourselves. Or if we are ourselves, our parents hate it or tolerate it at best. Yeah,
yeah,
it means a lot.
absolutely. And then, fast forward to today, like as an adult, my best friend Scotty, he's gay. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like seeing that. I don't know. To me, it's like, it's a no brainer. I have to be a part of it.
That's great. How did you and Scotty meet?
So we actually met through eXp. So
Oh,
yeah, whenever he came over into the downline, and I was introduced to him, was stay connected with him. But then when I moved back to Oklahoma, it's so funny. I was invited to a happy hour by another eXp agent, and I remember going to, it was like a rooftop thing, and I remember messaging him, my friend that was inviting me, and I was like, "Hey, I am in like cutoff shorts, like they were like to my knees, so they weren't like Daisy Dukes or anything crazy, but I had these cutoff shorts, and I'm like, I'm not really like dressed for like a professional happy hour." And he's like, "Oh, no, this is super casual. Like a lot of people are wearing shorts." I'm like, perfect. So I remember going upstairs and I looked over and I saw Scotty at the bar area, and I walked up to him, and of course I had known him at this point, but I'm like, how are you wearing denim shorts better than I am? And then from there we've been inseparable. So
that's awesome. I love that. You're a really good storyteller, actually. You really put me there.
thanks. I mean, like I wish I could say I make some of these stories up, but I don't. These are can't make these stories up type
Yeah,
of
you can't. So sometimes, truth is stranger than fiction sometimes and far more entertaining. So, why, in your opinion, do you think that it's important for groups like the Pride Network, LGBT groups, and any sort of diversity group? Why is it important for them to engage with allies? Like, what's the benefit to the community? What's the benefit to the ally?
I think it's critical for the groups like Pride Network to engage because it helps foster like a sense of belonging and acceptance, which of course a lot of these people, the communities, that's what they're facing is not being accepted. So it's fostering that.
Mm,
Of course, allies provide support, validation, advocacy. It's really to empower those individuals within the community. And then, of course, additionally, when allies are participating or involved, it does send a powerful message that, we are in this together. We're fighting for equality. And it doesn't burden those who are directly affected. Like it's not all on 100% on the people of the community. It's the people who are supportive of the community as well. It's a collective effort.
it's so true. It's so true. And I think the allies really get something from it too. They get a level of enrichment and a level of knowledge of their fellow man that others might not get by not immersing themselves in another culture. There's so much personally you can gain from immersing yourself in another culture. I also would like to say that for any of these diversity groups, they're always done for someone who in some way is a minority who might
Mhm.
not have a seat at the table, and those allies might be the people who do have the seat at the table, right? And if we
100%.
know those people sitting at the table have our best interest in mind, that's a wonderful win, right? That's a great win for us.
And I think too, it can also be like a bridge too. Like you never know what who that ally will come in contact to, and be able to provide resources to somebody that they meet that might not know about the Pride Network, might not know about these other great, fantastic, communities built within a community.
Right. It's brilliant. So, in your opinion, what qualities or actions make a truly effective ally? We always, in my DEI trainings, we talk about the opposite of an effective ally is a passive ally, and passivity is sort of the enemy of allyship. To be honest with you. So, what is it? What is it that you can do or be that makes you effective in this role?
I think to me, being truly effective, you're gonna have to possess the qualities of like empathy, humility, the willingness to learn, and obviously not judge. Right?
Mhm.
You have to listen attentively to experiences and to those needs of the marginalized communities out there without centering yourselves around it. Like I think one thing I always see, people make the mistake of is they try so hard to relate. And for me, like I can't you know what I mean? In the sense of like, because I'm not part of the community. So I haven't faced those challenges. However, I can listen to those challenges. I can advocate to those challenges. So I think when you remove yourself as because we all know those one people that are always like the one uppers that are like, oh, that's a really sad story. Also, when I was a child, this happened bad to
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like removing yourself from that and really listen. And I think most importantly, when you listen, you have to listen without judgment, right? Like you don't know what these people are going to. You've never experienced what they've experienced. And again, going back to platforms, so using your platforms of privilege to amplify those voices, to amplify those issues. And I think effective allyship, it takes action, it takes education. You're continually educating yourself and others about the issues that are faced within the community.
That's so real. That's so real. And I think, part of being effective is actually showing up for what you're saying you're going to show up for. You got to walk the walk, right? When
Yeah.
somebody's in a conversation with an effective ally and they drop a trans slur, for example,
Mhm.
the ally, not just the trans person in the conversation, but the ally should be the one to step in and make a gentle correction.
Oh,
Right.
100%. Even like on a personal note for me, like down to the people like if I was like going even on a date with somebody, like I put that first and foremost. I'm like, look, this is my best friend. These are all my friends. If you have an issue with the community or if you have an issue, of course I'm a little bit more like not as aggressive with it, but I definitely let out the gate. Like, if you have a problem with
Right.
this, you have a problem with me, and let's not waste each other's time. No, that
Right.
sounds silly, but like it's to everything, not even just in business, but personal life. People align myself with, like, yeah, if you have hate in your heart, I'm sorry, I don't have time in the day for you.
Yeah, right. And I mean, we always open ourselves up to be willing to educate those people, but
Yeah,
there are a lot these days of non-starter conversations and,
100%.
and arguments from folks that have bigoted opinions that just don't want to engage in the conversation because they know that they know better based on something they heard somewhere on the internet, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like some people, like I'll chat with, friends or whatever, and they're not like necessarily like they're not opposed to it, but they just don't understand it. I'm like, okay, we have this street called 39th Street here in Oklahoma City. I'm like, let's go down to 39th Street and let's go eat lunch there. Let's go, grab a drink at so and so. Just going to those places and saying, like, look, it's not like everyone's human here. Like it's not, these are real
Yeah,
people. It's to come
yeah.
experience it. So always providing that opportunity for people to not only just, hear what I have to say about it, but then also bring them to environments where they can experience it themselves too and, get educated.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So, how can individuals, if they wanted to on their own without an effective ally in their life, go out and educate themselves to become better allies to marginalized communities?
I think it starts out with seeking resources, right? And books, articles, podcasts, documentaries, anything that highlights those experiences and perspectives from those marginalized groups, I think is going to be a great place to start. I mean, the beauty of today's digital age is we have access to all those things at our fingertips, and there's so many free resources out there to just submerge yourself into. And it's essential to, of course, listen and learn from those voices, engage in conversations with other individuals with those diverse backgrounds, attending local alliance groups and meetups. And like we have the we have a Oklahoma City Alliance of Professional Network here for real estate agents. So and they have the best, of course they have the best put together, organized and fun experience. But like so many people that go there, they're not necessarily part of the community. They're just allies. They're supporting them. So, catch those events. And then outside of even just the real estate sector of Alliance and the groups like that, I think it's also important for people to go to we talked about this before, PFLAG, getting involved with associations like that. So last week there was our monthly PFLAG support meeting, and man, it was a heartbreaking one. I mean, literally I literally left out of there thinking my heart was just hurting for people. But going there and you understand the faces. Of course, you have the individuals there, but then there was actually a couple of parents there too who were just looking to find ways to connect and help provide a better environment for their child. And just attending those types of environments, getting educated in books, podcasts, and all these other things are a great way to really start understanding and really start being attuned to what's out there. Because I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, well, I accept it, but I'm not going to really necessarily pay attention to it. It's kind of like burying your head in the sand. Just getting out there and just getting educated is definitely a great way to get started into it.
Yeah. And I'd say, find that effective ally, right? Find that person in your life that knows about the community, and don't necessarily ask them to teach you, right? But ask, what are the resources, right? What movie should I watch that might change my mind? What podcast should I listen to? It's exactly those things and I would be happy to rattle off a whole list of things if somebody felt the urge to learn a little bit more about the queer experience, right? I'd say, go listen to the Making Gay History podcast produced by NPR. It's fantastic. It's got the real voices of people from history and what they went through, and it's crazy. It really is crazy. It shows you what the history of our civil rights movement has been like. I'd also encourage anyone who uses the Bible against the LGBTQ community to go watch the movie Boy Erased. Just sit through it, right? It's a hard watch, but this is something I wish that I could convince my mother to watch, right? And if you are saying to me, I'm willing to learn more, I have the list of tools. If my mom ever said, maybe I'm willing to give this another shot, I've got the list of stuff I would give her, and I can give you that list too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And also, but I'm going to ask for that list though too, because we do have a lot of people that come to our PFLAG that are always looking for resources. So
that's, it's
shoot me over your recommendations.
I never thought about putting together a list. Maybe we should put together a list. I think
Absolutely.
I'll do that.
Absolutely. There it goes. There's a content piece already created.
There it is. Yeah. We just, we're in the middle of creating the Black History Library for Black History Month coming in February. And we did a crowdsourced, what are the 10 best movies about moments in Black history? And I learned so much from compiling the list. I think I consider myself someone who's an avid movie buff, particularly about movies about the civil rights movement. But there were maybe 8 out of the 20 suggestions that I'd never even heard of.
That is
right?
awesome.
So,
just being a part of it, right? You being a part of that community, you understand that you learned something. You know what I mean? You now learn something more than you already did. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. So let's talk about becoming an ally. Are there common misconceptions that you come into contact with about being an ally, and how do you navigate conversations with folks that have negative connotations around you being an ally to the queer community?
Well, I think that there are some common misconceptions too, of course, with allyship that I personally have encountered. I think one belief, it's kind of, I don't want to say funny, but to me it's kind of humorous because people think that it's a state or a badge that you earn or something like that, where I'm like, it's not we don't go through a certification process or anything. You don't then
you get to wear the little rainbow thing,
right? In reality, allyship is an ongoing process of growth, of learning. So it's nothing earned. It's just a process that you're always going through. And I think another misconception is going to be, that we have to seek recognition or praise for our efforts. I'm not trying to go for an ally of the year this year or anything like that. But you just do it because there's a genuine desire of equity, of equality, of justice, of you're not seeking for that personal validation. You're not searching for that recognition. I think it's just being there, and you navigate those conversations with others who don't understand or appreciate it. I just really approach it with patience, empathy, and it's a willingness to educate those people and engage in that open dialogue. Because there's a reason why somebody has that. Of course, it's not valid in my opinion. No reason for it, but there's a reason. Maybe something had happened or something they'd experienced, and then that's an opportunity to educate them about that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And from personal experience, I can tell you that being a good ally, you shouldn't go out for it, like you said, seeking recognition or anything like that. But often, when you are a truly effective ally, that recognition comes naturally anyway.
Definitely.
And that can help your career, that can help your personal life, it can help your self-esteem. It's something you can lay your head on the pillow at night and say, I helped somebody today. I made a difference today. That's so
100%.
much better. It's so much more rewarding than I made a couple bucks. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
It's lovely to make a couple bucks. Don't get me wrong.
I've had a lot of like clients and things like I've gained just from that. You know what I mean? Just being part of the community and being that, and whether it be individuals themselves who are in the community, or they have their parents, or maybe someone has a son who's in the community. Something. It's just it does feel good. Of course, we always feel good whenever we do good things. But I think one of the things people think it's like, you have that for personal reasons. No, it's just a benefit that comes along with it, in my opinion.
Yeah, so true. So, in your experience, what are some actionable steps that someone can take to support the underrepresented groups, and in your personal and your professional life? Like, what are some real actions folks can take?
I think some actionable steps to support underrepresented groups. Obviously, it's going to be critical in both personal and professional lives. Individuals can start by just actively seeking out diverse perspectives, promoting inclusivity, challenging, those biased practices that are still out there. It can involve like advocating for policies in the workplace, supporting diverse businesses. Like I just said, like take somebody out to one of those owned businesses and have them, not only just visit it, but buy lunch from there. Actively participating in incentives that promote it. Of course, being a part of all the meetings and things like that. I know EXP1, we offer a lot of opportunity to be a part of that. So you just showing up there. I think it's also important too to uplift those marginalized voices and their achievements and create platforms for them. Share their stories on your podcast, like you're doing right here, right? Creating that opportunity. And then I think most importantly too, and it's kind of silly, I feel like I have to say this out loud, but standing up and reporting things whenever you see something bad or you see something wrong that's happening. You know what I mean? Like discrimination. Speak up. Like don't just sit there and like keep quiet. Just because you're not agreeing to it doesn't mean that that's all that you do. Report that to whoever you need to report it to, because I think especially in the workplace, like that's going to be something that's definitely going to be crucial when it comes to. It's a simple action to take, right?
Yep. And for all of that and more, you can utilize the DEI team if you're here at eXp, right? You can come straight to me if you've experienced discrimination, if you've seen discrimination, you can bring that to me and I can help you report it to the right channels. Also, if you're wanting to take steps towards becoming an ally for a community, I know where to plug you in. Come on, bring it on. This is my favorite kind of conversation to have during the day. Bring it on.
I love it.
So, what advice would you give someone who wants to be a better ally, but feels like unsure or hesitant about where to start?
Yeah, I think if you're hesitant to start, you're not sure where to begin. And I feel like I've said this word a lot, but it's all about education, educating yourself. Take time to learn about, everything, like again, the struggles, the communities themselves, what groups are out there, both locally and then digital. Of course, we can hop on Zoom meetings and virtual meetings as well. Engage in those conversations, listen to those stories. It's okay to make mistakes too, because I know a lot of people are like, well, I just don't understand it, or I don't, whatever. It's okay to make a mistake, but it's essential to take responsibility when it comes to that. Apologize and then learn from those mistakes. And I think lastly, just be an active participant. Use your privilege to advocate for change. Never underestimate like the power of small actions, and just kind of just being there. I think that's going to be part of it because, if you're hesitant, like taking action is going to be the first place to really kind of put yourself in the right direction of it.
That's beautiful. I love that. And, before we wrap up, I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity while I've got a brand newly minted member of the leadership team of the Pride Network to ask, where do you see the Pride Network going? What can people look forward to in the future from the Pride Network?
Oh my gosh, I see it going so like big and bright. I'm so excited. Definitely more like events. We're going to look at doing some events like both locally and of course virtually for everyone because we are a cloud-based brokerage. So allowing you guys to join in on those monthly meetings and events. And of course we'll be at eXpCon. Yeah, we're just going to be here. We're going to be loud. We're going to be proud. I'm excited.
It's going to be so good. Keep tuned to the 1EXP workplace page and the Pride Network page for more announcements coming soon from the new leadership team at the Pride Network. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. This has been such a cool conversation, especially thank you to Holly for joining me today. This has been just a great conversation. I love talking to you.
Cody, I love talking to you too. This was great.
All right. Well, until next time, this has been the CultureCast, the bi-weekly podcast about what makes us us, and we'll see you next time.